Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called Match Point. In the first part, we met Chris, an ex-tennis player, who became trainer, met her client's sister, fell in love with. But Tommy, the client, has a hot fiancée, named Lola, who is an aspiring actress. One day at their family country house, after frustration from Tommy's mother questioning her acting career, she drank and made love with Chris. Days later, at the opera, Tommy receives a call that he passes to Lola. It's an agent that has a potential movie for her. Chris steps out and asks her why she has been cold to him since the day they made out. She says she tries to encourage anything, it was a mistake. He pushes to kiss her but she pushes him, saying it's over, forget it. The next day, Chris meets Henry, an old friend. Henry is surprised to see Chris has a company car and a driver. Chris gives him his business card to call him anytime. That night Chris and his girlfriend Chloe are at evening, when Chloe's mum asks when is the wedding. At that gathering, Chris sees Tommy and Lola kisses passionately. They stop when they see him. He doesn't seem happy. Days later, Chris and Chloe get married. They then move into their new amazing apartment. Chloe wants kids. Chris is then teaching Tommy like usual, but Tommy doesn't seem to be in his element today. He reveals that Lola and him broke up. Chris reminds them they were supposed to get married. Tommy says he met someone else. The next day, at his new job, he calls Lola's number but the number doesn't work. He then goes to her apartment. A neighbor says she moved out yesterday. Chris is being preoccupied, and Chloe reminds him it's been a week since we made love. Then Tommy and his new girlfriend are getting married. Chloe on the other hand keeps complaining that they tried to make kids but still nothing. Chris is at his job. He is so stressed. He goes then to meet his wife. On his way he can't believe who he sees, Lola. He runs after her, but runs into Chloe. He says he has to make a phone call and leave them. He finally meets Lola again. She is shocked to see him. He says he looked for her, asks her where is she living alone. She asks him why is he asking all those questions. He wants to meet her for a drink just to talk. Chloe arrives and sees them. Chris says he bumped into her. He whispers to her, begging her to say her phone number. She does. The next day, they get out of a futility doctor. Chris then goes to make love to Lola. The next day, Chris is so in his thoughts during breakfast, and says he has to go to work, when in reality he went to make love to Lola. That night, Tommy, his wife, Chris and Chloe are having dinner. Tommy says they bumped into Lola the other day. A friend couple meet them and the husband is pretty sure to have seen Chris calling a cab the other day. At work, Chris wants to step out of work for his pleasure with Lola. His co-worker reminds them of the meeting. He says he will be back. Lola and Chris argue. Chris says he is bored with Chloe. Lola is so frustrated for failing her auditions. She doesn't know what she is doing with him. He doesn't know what he would do if he couldn't see her. Christmas then arrives. Chris is secretly leaving a voicemail to Lola. Chloe's father tell me you have been performing bad at your job, but don't worry because you make my daughter happy. Meanwhile Chris continues to see Lola on the regular. On a 3-day weekend, she calls him saying she needs to see him ASAP. That night she calls him to the country house while he is having dinner. She wants to see him ASAP. Lola reveals to him that she is pregnant. Chris gets silent and tells her he will be there tomorrow. He tells the family that he has to step out for work. The next day he is screaming at Lola. He wants abortion but she can't do it for the 3rd time. She wants to raise the kid with him. She expects him to do the right thing. When Chris and Chloe comes back, he tells her he can't keep leaning on her father. She asks him if it's about those phone calls. She is asking if he is having an affair. He says of course no. She asks if he doesn't love her anymore. He tells her of course I love you. He says he is feeling like he is letting her down for not being able to make her a baby. The next day Chris meets his old friend Henry. He needs to talk to him. He is suffering. He then tells him he was thinking of leaving his wife for another woman, but when the time came to say it, he couldn't do it. This other woman is driving him crazy. He can't leave his wife. He has got used to this rich style living. He then meets Lola saying that he will tell his wife in 3 weeks. She gets so mad, asking him to stop playing games with her. Lola then reveals to him she's jealous of Chloe. The next day Chris calls Lola, but doesn't say a word and hang up. Chloe's father then tells Chris about a huge opportunity with a Japanese firm. At this moment Lola calls him. He is getting annoyed with her. She says it has been a week, she was waiting for his call. He is lying to her that he is in Greece. Later Lola is walking when she sees Chris. She realizes he was lying to her about being in Greece. She calls him again and he lies again. So the next day, she shows up in front of his job, screaming that he lied to her. She wants to talk to Chloe. He screams for a taxi, throws her in there and they leave. She wants to tell Chloe everything. They get home, they argue. She says if you are not gonna tell her, I will. She threats him that he won't, then she will tell Chloe. That night he is wide awake and is thinking. The next day, Chris goes to the ranch of Chloe's father and steals a gun. It's time to deal with this situation. Chloe searches for him. He is hoping not to be seen taking that gun. He comes back. He then goes to Lola and tells her that he will tell Chloe tomorrow. She says you say that every day. He thinks it's like a revenge for her against the whole family. She screams, tell her now. He promises tomorrow for sure, and asks her what time she gets back from work. She just wants to be with him. That night, Chloe sees he is nervous and asks him about it. He thinks it's high sugar maybe. She wants to open the bag where the gun is, thinking her tennis clothes may be in there. He stops her. He goes in and finds her clothes. He drops a bullet, put it in his pocket. She asks what is it and changes subject and tells her he got great tickets for a concert tomorrow. The next day, he calls Lola saying to come home after work. He has great news for her. She is so happy. After work, he grabs the bag with the gun, goes to her place. He knocks on her neighbor, says he wants to check her TV, takes the gun out, and shoots her. At this moment Lola is coming home. He is crying as he is getting ready for her. He is sweating. She finally arrives. She takes the elevator and as she arrives he shoots. This is the point of no return, but the movie is not done yet. From here it gets crazier. Check out the insane conclusion in part 3 attached here. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and check our other movies summaries.